Okay. Hello, my name is Amy Galarza from the Pedagogical Career of National and French Languages. Today I'm presenting related to linguistics. Here we have an index with all this information that will be presented in this presentation. Then is the introduction of this topic. I want to introduce the history of how languages was produced is the most relevant knowledge to learn or try to understand. And I want to talk about the Sanskrit language. The Sanskrit language is the oldest, the historical record of the oldest communication language and was the basis to start a study of comparison about languages, comparison with this language, ancient language, and the book with Sanskrit that was Vedas, and this is the language, the Sanskrit, and I have some information that is this. The language was the oldest communication language and which is the basis for comparison and a study of development of languages. Develop of Languages is an Indian book known as the Vedas about Sanskrit and is a language known as the Sanskrit. Then we have in this stage, we have descriptive files related languages in language family. We're gonna start explaining what is descriptive files. This file try to explain or try to understand how the language is structured, the phonology, the morphology, the syntax, the semantics, the structure, and how actually is used the language in the daily life, in the reality. This file is a branch of linguistics and is directed to understand and explain the language changes in the passage of the time. And then we have related languages and language family. They are similar. For example, if you can see in the image, we can see a lot of forms of say hello. We have Chinese, we have Spanish, we have Indian, and another. And they have a relation. Some of them have a relation between because they from the same proto-language, the Indo-European language. First, we have related language is that are idioms that are share the same proto-language or the same ancestry. They also have similarities in their structure, in their grammar, in their vocabulary. About it's like, in other words, the system is very, very similar. Then we have language family. The language family are languages that share the same lineage, the same ancestor, and they have a lot of branches from their ancestor. For example, we can talk about our ancestor, that is Latin because we speak Spanish. Our ancestor is Latin, and Latin from Roma is known as a Romance languages. Our family language is Romance languages because from Latin, and the Latin birth a lot of branches as a Portuguese, as Italian, as a French, as a Catalan in Spain, and then also Spanish in Spain. Our family is named as a Romance language. Another example is the Germanic language. Germanic language that is about English and other branches. Here we have Romance and Greek language groups. First, we have Romance. Romance, it's about Latin language, and it's not about romance or something else. It's because Latin is owned from Roma. That's what Romance language or Latin is called in that way because it's from Roma. Romance language, the reason why there are so many countries with the same family was due to the conquest of countries by Roman Empire and also the Spain Kingdom in the Latin American. That's why the branches of this Latin extended in that way in America, also not only in Europe, also in America. The languages that share the same ancestor, the same proto-language is also several similarities in structure, vocabulary, phonology. are Español, Portuguese, French, Italian, Catalan, Spanish, from Spain, and others, and others. Then we have Greek. Greek is an independent branch of Indo-European that had a lot of changes, and his spoken countries varies and families. The Greek has a lot of stage, Hellenic, Mycenaean, Ancient Greek, Koine Greek, Medieval Greek, and modern Greek, the actual use. The countries that share the same language still in the present is Greece, the official language in their country, Italy, the Greco dialect, and USA, in Australia, and Germany, and Canada, and United Kingdom, in South Africa. The next is an example of how actually is how actually sounds the Romance family, the Romance language family, and it's in the Vulgar Latin, Marcus da libro a patri. In Spanish, sounds like Marcus le da el libro a su padre, very similar. In Italian, Marcus da el libro a seu padre, still similar. In French, Marcus dona el libro a son pere. In Portuguese, Marcus dá o livro para o seu pai. In Romanian, Marcus dá cartera tatalui sau. They are very similar, and this family, if you don't know the language, you can also understand because it's very similar structured and very similar in the phonology. Then we have the family tree model. In this image, in this picture, you can see the model. It's a tree. Here we have the Indo-European, the branches of European, Romance, or mother, like this. Then we have Spanish, Portuguese, French, and another more. You can see Philippines is also very interesting because it's an Asian, about concrete. They we have Slavic, Russian. Then we have Germany, English that we are studying. Then we have in Indo-Irani, Indic, and these languages, Persian. This model was created for August Schaller, explained it through tree and its branches, the genetics of the derivation of the different languages derived from Indo-European. This linguistic explained through this model of trunk of branches how languages spread from a proto-language was Indo-European. Then we have about Sanskrit. Sanskrit is the oldest languages, as I said before, is the oldest languages registered in the story, and serve as very important material to study in comparison with the languages in the actually. The connection is very important because we can establish connection between the different branches of the language, because with this ancient and juristic language, it's possible to carry our historical and comparative studies, as I said before, that allow us to understand what is the majority of current languages come from a language progenitor, which was the branch of the Indo-Europeans. That from its similarities were found that allow us to notice the relationship between them, as were example, the word Sanskrit mar, the Greek mother, and English mother as mamá in Spanish. Also in Espanol, sounds very similar. That's why the Sanskrit was very useful to understand how all these languages belong to Indo-Europeans model languages, and then derived another languages. We have Sanskrit and Indo-Europeans, as I said before, they have a relationship with because. We can also consider it because it's thanks Sanskrit that was possible to find relationship with the languages and establish the connections and ancestor of the other languages that they share. Ramification with the Indo-European language, the relationship is symbiotic and mutually beneficial. Another fact that you can state is Sanskrit is a language that was born in India and is also considered the immortal language or the language of the gods of the immortals. We have there I have the extinct and dead languages, the difference about them. Here we have extinct and dead. Extinct is the language that no one speak. Yeah, no one can speak this language because it's extinct. No exist, doesn't exist native speakers. This language is just some records, just some pictures, just some stuff like this. Is delimited or was used in a small population that extinct. For example, in Spain, they have the Celtibero, Fenicio, Ibero, that these languages extinct because the native people dead and no one saved these languages. The dead languages in other case is not used in everyday life, but the people know this language, still knowing this language. This language has records to study the languages, to study the historical languages, as you can say with Latin, with Ancient Greek, Sumerian, Ancient Egyptian, still using to study the stage of the languages. Still being relevant to the study of languages, and also are used in religious events, literature. It is, as is Latin, is still used in the Catholic religion to make praise in this kind of stuff. There we have the reference about this work, and fine. Thank you for listening me, and I'm waiting your comments and your feedback.